Okay, guys, for today's video, I'm continuing with the clips from Redefine Healthy Radio. This is Laurin and I's most recent podcast. Links below for the podcast. So you're just getting an early preview. This podcast will actually be going live today, but just trying to draw some awareness, plus give you some insight on what it looks like. We will be growing the Redefine Healthy Radio podcast online presence. I'm going to start uploading these full episodes with audio and video to YouTube at some point. But going forward, I just want to raise awareness. So listen to the episode. Hopefully you enjoy it, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
People that I was friends with and working with, a lot of them were older, and I looked up to them, but I wasn't going to be like, can you tell me all the deep, dark secrets? I didn't even know to ask that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And my first show prep was...
Sometimes being naive is a good thing, though, because you don't...
Oh, yeah.
Overthink the process.
No, and I would say that for my first show, that was awesome, because I had help from them, but I still had to figure out a lot of my own. Nobody who was helping me for my first show was giving me a plan per se. It was more just help and bouncing ideas off of me.
I just thought of something. The first, and I tell this to people all the time, don't get hung up on a weight you think you're going to be, because
that's a good one.
Yeah, I still even do that to this day, and it's just never the case. This is a good one.
Before you're going to do a show, go to a show.
Yeah.
See if you even...
I did that, though.
See if you even,
Before I even reached out to a coach, that's the first thing I did.
Because a lot of times you'll, especially now, when I was doing this, I wasn't, looking at social media and, stuff, right? Yeah. But now people can just look at that and see, and think they know what they're going to see when they go there.
I love it when my clients are they send me a picture of, Mr. Physique top 5 Olympia and go, man, I feel like I need more upper chest. Yes, if you're going to be on the Olympiad stage, you need more upper chest.
Definitely.
You're fine. You're looking at the freaks.
So I would say that it's a good idea to go to a show and just to kind of experience it and see what the hell is this even going to be? And that way a little bit more what you're getting into, air quotes. But I do think some naivety is good. Did I say that right? Yeah. But I do think that having somebody who's supportive afterwards is going to be really, really important, because you're going to run into things after your show that you were not expecting.
Yeah.
A lot of struggles afterwards, whether it's mentally, physically, hormonally, whatever it is. And it's really helpful at that point to have a coach for accountability.
Yeah, I think... Yeah, I mean, when we first started competing, there was no such thing as a reverse diet or a post-con. It was more congratulations, you just competed. Go eat your face off, because now you're about to make the most gains in your life. There wasn't an understanding that is actually not probably a good idea. Though still a little bit necessary for a moment or two. But I think my post-contest eat my face off phase for my first show was probably 3 weeks. Until I went, okay, I gotta stop eating at Burger King and Dairy Queen.
I should probably stop doing this.
Yeah. I would literally just be driving down the street and be like, I'm at a Dunkin' Donuts, and I would never, but I would just pull in and get a dozen and eat. Things that
I haven't done this in a year.
Yeah.
I don't even like this.
My buddy Phil asked.
Man, it is fucking hot in here.
It's a little warm, right?
Woo, it's chilly.
Well, but I've maybe just opened the door for 2 seconds, because it's 60 degrees.
It's so nice out.
It's really cold here in Florida, so as long as better.
Is that going to be loud, though?
No, I don't hear it. So from Phil. Post-workout anabolic window, actual science or bro science?
Okay, so there's a few things here. One, actual science does not, I'm talking about, published papers, does not generally look at physique-minded, lean, muscular people trying to get leaner and more muscular, right? Let's just put that out there. Most research is not done in that.
And it's not that they don't want to. It's that those type of people do not want to be researched.
Those type of people do not want to be researched. No. And also, they obviously don't need the research as much as somebody who's maybe overweight or in a clinical state or whatever, right?
That's a good point,
so it obviously makes sense. Somebody who has diabetes needs to have a lot more research on what they're doing, right? Yeah. Or than, us. Now, places like USF and Dr. Campbell's lab are working on more physique-minded research.
Of all the research with post-workout, protein is really, I think, the only one that's been kind of repeated and proven.
Protein. So, to me, and this is kind of where you have to use logical common sense, right? At least having a protein shake after training is going to be crucial.
Or a protein source, because I can't do shakes.
Well, you can do lactose-free shakes.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
I need to get a good...
Yeah. honestly, like at that point, I would say that you're going to want to have a fast digesting protein source, and you're not going to want to have like chicken, right? So if you have been training,
I've been using beef jerky.
Okay.
Just because it sits on my car, I don't have to worry about it. And I can just eat it when I'm done.
I always just do a shake. That's what Campbell has everybody do in the lab too. Like that's what we do. As far as like carbs or not, I think that if you are somebody who has a higher carb based diet, I do think that it can be beneficial. I also think that intra-workout carbs can be beneficial. It obviously depends on your goal. Like there's so much context related into this. Yeah. So one, is it the end all be all? No. Is it important? Yes. If you are somebody who is trying to add as much muscle mass as possible, why would you not take advantage of a time when your body is ready to take in nutrients? It just makes sense.
And I did a video with Steven yesterday, and we both agreed, like, you know, our exact macronutrient ratios that important, and I think it gets more important the leaner you get. The closer you get to that below your body fat set point is when timing becomes an issue. It
becomes very important when you're dieting, but it also, you know, again, like it's hard. The thing with dieting is that it's easier to see the changes. So we're like, oh, we can like really feel and see all the changes. But when you're off season, all that stuff is still happening, just to a lesser degree, right? Yeah. Because like you're not really gonna like notice it, but it still is important. And like adding lean tissue is very challenging. Yeah. So making sure that you're recovering is going to be crucial. Now, it also depends on how close you ate before your meal.
Before you train, you mean? Yeah.
Before you train. How many carbs you're eating total if you're somebody who doesn't digest other carbs as well. So in the hierarchy,
total calories for the day, macronutrient ratios for the day, how long before timing. You trained, how long and what type of training you're doing.
Yeah. But I always have everybody do a shake afterwards. Like that's like my baseline recommendation is protein shake immediately after training.
Yeah, I always say something within 30 to 40 minutes.
And then you can eat afterwards. I just find that that's very helpful. Yeah. And there is...
so there's a little bit of science behind the post-training window, especially when it comes to protein.
It's so context related, which is why people like, I love evidence-based stuff, but sometimes you have to use evidence and logic to make a recommendation.
All right, here's another good one that I think we can answer rather quickly, because I don't want these to be like hour-long topics. Thoughts on intermittent fasting during prep? Do you think you will lose weight faster?
Context. Just by sheer, well, it depends.
Calories being equal, do you lose weight faster fasting versus not?
It depends on how your time window, right? So I'm big on time restricted feeding, which is basically eating within a certain time frame for like circadian rhythms. So the issue I have with intermittent fasting is that some people do not eat like until like all day, and then they try to cram everything in like in a really short window, like late at night.
She mentions an 8-hour window, which is pretty common one.
8 hour is pretty common for IF. I like to do 10 hours because I find that in order to get my...
Are you doing 10 hours now? Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Even with your calories higher? I thought during prep you did it, but I didn't think you did it.
I generally always do it. I mean, it fluctuates a little bit, but I try and eat most of my food within a 10-hour window. Okay. And I find that I can eat, all my protein, because I eat a pretty high protein diet. Yeah. So for 8 hours, it was really hard because then I would only eat 3 meals, and that was really hard because I'm eating a lot of protein. That's the problem I did
the 16-8 for 1 week, and I just kept tripping up on the protein.
It's really tough with protein. So I like 10 hours better. I mean, I'll push it maybe sometimes to 12 if I have to, but I don't like eating more than 12 hours. I feel like it can throw digestion off, sleep off, all this stuff. And there is some really, really cool research, if you guys are interested, on time-restricted feeding from Dr. Sachin Panda. Yes, like panda, like the bear. He's just amazing and has all this awesome research. Now, do I think that IF in and of itself can help with fat loss when calories are already highly controlled? Maybe, maybe not. The one thing that I do find that it's very helpful for me is mentally saying, okay, I'm eating at this point and I'm not eating after this, because what happens with prep is A, you're hungry, B, you're food focused, and then when you add A and B together, what really ends up happening is you're like, oh fuck, all I want to do is, maybe I'll just have a little bit later, I'll save it for like later, and then you just start eating. So I always found that if I just said, hey, okay, I'm done at this time, obviously the cravings and the hunger were still there, but it was a little bit more manageable because it's like, I'm not even thinking about eating at this point.
Yeah. I had one client this year, Kim Martin. I don't know if you met her. She would have been at Universe just saying hello. She competed at North Americans in H. She actually got 5th there, and then she won her class at the freaking Amateur Olympia. But she did a 1 day a week, 24-hour fast.
Yeah.
Because when her calories got low, she's like, she does shift work. She's a nurse, and she said she was struggling with
starting eating
the calories being so low some days, and so we were able to just have her fast one day because she worked like a 14 to 16-hour shift anyway.
I've had people do that. So I'm big. I don't mind fasting now. Obviously, when you're in a position where you're already going to possibly lose more muscle mass just because you are dieting.
Yeah.
There are. Will a 24-hour fast make you lose a bunch of muscle? Probably not in the short term, but if you are chronically calorie restricting for like 9 months and doing that could potentially lead to some things. In the off season, I think it's awesome because it's going to help with insulin sensitivity, it's going to help with digestion, all these things.
She loved it because on that day, she literally didn't have time to eat.
Yeah, you don't worry about it.
She was so stressed at work, she wasn't going to lift.
No, it's honestly
it made perfect sense for
it's
her.
really good for people who work like jobs like that.
Yeah.
And I had a client who I did that with.
So I think
prep, but she did like a 3 to 5 day fast, I believe, and it was just she wanted to try it, and she was a doctor, and she was just you get a lot of like mental clarity and things from that. I don't know, if you guys are interested, just try it. It's really not that hard. You eat dinner the night before, and then you go to sleep, and then you wake up and you don't eat until you eat another 20. So say you eat dinner on Tuesday at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
You go and sleep, you wake up, you don't eat all day, and then at 7 p.m. and you have a meal again.
Yeah.
So try it.
Yeah.
See if you like it.
It'll change your habits. So I think we can both agree we're both fine with fasting. I find that the competitors that get their calories lower, I'd rather have them eat larger meals than try to eat these little tiny meals all day.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with the fasting window. I think, even thinking back to like when I was young, my mom never ate breakfast. It never occurred to me that was fasting, but she was essentially fasting, probably doing a 16-8.
Yeah.
So, all right, good question. Biggest learnings from this season as competitors and as coaches. We did a really good podcast on this. Science podcast.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That's where a lot of the things that we talked about that Laurin and I both agreed this year that we stopped looking at competition prep as coaches and as competitors through this evidence-based only. If you can't prove it in a research article or PubMed, then we're not doing it approach. And we started going, people have been doing this for a long time. And sometimes they do things that they do things that the scientific community says it doesn't work. But the reasons behind it not working.
Well, there's a lot of different scientific communities also. I'm just going to say that. There's a lot of what we'll call the bodybuilding evidence people who completely overlook a ton of like health based research, and they're like, oh, that's not true. It's like, actually, there was like hundreds of studies on this.
To keep this on point, you take one and I'll take one. What's the one thing this year as a competitor coach that changed in your perspective?